I've been really excited to preach this message all week because God has downloaded into me 2 weeks ago. So it's just been stirring around. Is anybody just ready to eat today? Is anybody ready to receive? If you're ready, say, I'm ready. Good. We're going to dive right in today. I don't really want to waste a lot of time. If you've got a Bible, go ahead and open to Numbers chapter 11. If you don't have a Bible, we have the Blueprint Church Bible app made just for you. It is free in your Google Play or App Store. You can go there and you'll have the Bible verses, a few points to help follow along, and also just fill in the blank kind of stuff that'll help you take some notes home with you, and that's made just for you. Turn to your neighbor and say, get that app. Get that app. So we're going into part 2 today of a series called Dissonance. Dissonance. If you were here last week, you know that dissonance in the musical world is a term that's used to describe a really harsh kind of sound. So 2 or 3 notes ring out together, and there's just something that doesn't mesh. Something hits really hard. There's disagreement. There's not unity between these tones that ring out. And last week we looked at James chapter 1, and we saw the dissonance there between faith and doubting. How literally when we doubt, we saw that there's something that's actually inside of us. There's variance in us. So if we have faith and doubting, it's literally like we're double-minded. Even though we have one self, it's as if we have 2 minds or 2 souls, and one is saying, I believe God, I believe who He says He is, I believe that He's going to show up and do exactly what He said, and the other side saying, I don't believe. Oh, I believe God, and I know He can do it, but I don't believe, and there's this variance even within us. It's dissonance. Well, this week we're going to look at Numbers chapter 11, at the people of God, for a different kind of dissonance. But before we do, just one more time, can we give it up for all of the mothers in the house today? Welcome, ladies. We're so glad that you've joined us. I hope you enjoyed the little gift that we gave you. We hope it's maybe a little different than most other gifts. I'm glad you appreciate it. I'm glad that it's maybe something different than you get usually in a church on Mother's Day. You know, I actually wanted to do everybody's favorite food, but I didn't know how we'd pull that off. I figured we'd have several dozen things going on because you heard Cassie say earlier, this is not like family here at Blueprint. This is family. And one of the ways we do family is we just eat. If you hadn't caught on to that yet, if it's your first time here, if you like to eat and you want to grow in your relationship with Jesus, you have found the right church. Come on back. This is the place for you. We just do food. If you want to show me you love me, show me with your foods. Let's go eat together. Let's hang out. Anybody like the 5 love languages? Food is my top one. Food. We love each other. Let's eat, you know? So I wanted to do that. I didn't know how we'd actually pull it all off, but I am still curious. What is your favorite food? And I'm talking real food, comfort food. Is anybody, ladies especially, I'm talking to the guys too, is it ice cream? Anybody ice cream? A few of y'all? How about chocolate? Nobody. Okay. Pizza. Okay. Maybe something more down home. Maybe the comfort food for you is it makes you taste you back, that real homemade greens. When you eat greens, it just makes you feel good. Nobody? Okay. Mashed potatoes. Yeah. Fried chicken. There it is. That looks to be the popular. If you're waiting for me to say kale, it ain't going to happen. Go on with your healthy self. I like my V8s in the morning with a splash of minerals. And we love you. But I'm talking about real food. I'm talking about comfort food, something that makes you feel good, something that makes you feel good for 5 minutes, but then it makes you feel bad afterwards. There it is. That's what I'm talking about, real food, something that's not actually good for you, but it tastes good for you. There it is. Now I'm hearing everything. Gumbo. It'd be Cajun. If it was my wife, based on Mother's Day, and we got food for all of you, it'd be Cajun or it'd be Taco Bell. We'd be having Taco Bell out in the lobby for everybody. Crunch Wrap Supreme, 7-layer burritos all around. Man, we'd have a line for bags just handing out, and then another line for bathrooms. It'd just be one right into the next. That's my wife's dream. I like to give her crap about her Taco Bell addiction, but we're handling it pretty good. I got my stuff too. You guys probably know by now, I really like greasy burgers. I just love beef and it's greasy, it's even better, man. I like anywhere I go, I love Rallies. I love Five Guys. Anywhere. Like, give me a greasy burger. Here, I think it's called Checkers. It's the same thing as we call Rallies where I'm from in Kentucky. But, like, give me some greasy burger, and I feel good. Like, it feels comfortable to me. If I'm out traveling about and I'm, just trying to get somewhere, do something, I'm exhausted, and I'm just really hungry, I'm not trying to find that local joint. I'm not trying to find that new place. You know what I'm looking for? Rallies. Give me that big Buford with some seasoned fries, maybe a shake. That's what I like because it makes me feel good. It does it for me. There's comfort in it. If I really need to feel at home, let's say I'm traveling. I've done this before. Like if I'm around some kind of food that I'm just not used to, you know what I'm really going to look for to make me feel at home? Cracker Barrel. Cracker Barrel just brings me right back to the South. Give me some of that biscuits, some of that fried okra, sawmill gravy. Come on, somebody. Y'all want to turn your nose up at Cracker Barrel? Who are you people? I thought this was family. Cracker Barrel, come on. I need to feel at home. That's the kind of stuff I'm looking for if I'm out and about and I just need to feel at home. Like, I'm not looking for your local joint. I'm not trying to figure out something new. It's too much of a risk. When I'm hungry and I want to feel good, I'm going to the things I know. I'm going to my chain restaurants because I like chains. That's what we call them, right? Chains. They're chains. They're something familiar. It's something I know. It's something I'm comfortable with. I don't really have to acquire a new taste. I don't have to learn anything new. I just do what I'm comfortable with. I do what I know. And especially if I'm in an unfamiliar place, at least give me a familiar taste. And here in Numbers chapter 11, we find God's people in a really unfamiliar place. They are literally roaming in a desert. They are about a year removed from being in bondage. It's still fresh and it's still new. Everything around them is literally unfamiliar. They're roaming through a desert. Hundreds of thousands of people that call Yahweh their Lord are in a barren place. Yet God has been faithful to provide. He's shown up and told them when to camp and when to set back out. He's told them when to rest and when to move. He shows himself continually to be faithful, even in a desert, providing food where there is no food. And this food that God provided, he called manna. And manna was literally, it was bread from heaven. And I imagine it almost like a mix of like honey butter biscuit and vanilla wafer. Like, I don't really know what it is. It sounds pretty good. But God provided this food that they'd never seen before. It literally drops out of heaven with the dew every evening so that when you wake up in the morning, you're provided for. And the people of God called this stuff manna. They didn't know what it was, though. It was a new thing. They'd never seen it. Manna actually means, what is it? That's what it means. Like, I don't know what to call it. Hey, what are you eating over there? What? What? No, what are you eating? What? No, what are you eating? What? Who's on first? Nobody? Okay, go old school. Come on. So, that one, you know how when you tell a joke in a crowd and it just, that's what just happened right there. I'm going to pull it back to the scripture. So they have manna. And it came from heaven. And they don't know what it is. But they don't really have to know what it is. They just know that it is. They know that God is faithful. They know every single morning when they wake up, they are going to be provided for. Their job is to be faithful. His job is to provide. Their job is to be obedient. His job is to lead them. And this goes on 6 days a week. The story just rolls on and on. He provides manna for them every morning when they awake. And they would gather as much as they need outside of their tent. They bring it back in, and they would have provision in the middle of a dry and barren place. And on the sixth day, they would actually gather twice as much as they needed because they needed to have enough for the seventh day of rest. Because you know God's into rest. Even in the middle of a barren place, God calls you to rest. And they have this provision. And it goes on and on like this from the second month that they come into the wilderness until the day that we pick this up here in Numbers chapter 11. Starting in verse 4, it reads like this. Now the rabble who were among them had greedy cravings. And the sons of Israel also wept again and said, who will give us meat to eat? Verse 5, we remember. Somebody say, we remember. We remember the fish that we used to eat for free in Egypt. The cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic. But now our appetite is gone. There is nothing at all to look at except this manna. Lord, would you help us with your word today? Would you reveal to us and in us what you have for us? Lord, thank you for your perfect word. Let us receive it, and Holy Spirit, move and have your way. In Jesus' name, everybody say amen. So let's read this 3 little verses once again, because there's so much that I feel is not just for the people of God then, but for us right now. It says, now the rabble who were among them had greedy cravings. Somebody say cravings. And the sons of Israel also wept again and said, who will give us meat to eat? Because we remember the fish which we used to eat for free back in Egypt. We remember the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic, but now our appetite is gone. There is nothing at all to look at except this manna. So these people that are crying out to God, they're crying out to the same God to rescue them from bondage, and now they're crying out to this God again to give them meat. And they're experiencing freedom now, about a year in, free of bondage, free from illegitimate masters. They're experiencing freedom, maybe a little bit different than they imagined it. You know, Lord, I wanted to be free, but I didn't envision it like this. I wanted to get set free of what was really holding me back, but I really didn't see it kind of playing out like this. See, there was this rub, there was this dissonance between what they are currently experiencing and what they thought they would be experiencing. There's this dissonance between experience, my reality, and what I thought might be my reality. So here's these people now in the midst of this dissonant kind of feeling, and they're reflecting on the past. They're saying things like, oh, the fish we had in Egypt, the cucumbers, the garlic, the leeks, the onions, man, we had something good to eat then. Do you remember how great it was? It was not the same thing every day. We have variety, and it was broken up, and every day something new. It was all free in Egypt, but now here, there's nothing to even look at except this manna. And this thing that God had given them miraculously was now being taken for granted. And not even just taken for granted, but looked upon with disdain. You can almost see it in the text. All we have is this manna. It's all I got. I'm tired of it. God's trying to be good to us. Is this all he has? Is this all that he has for me? So here's God's provision. Here's God providing for his people in a barren place, yet the people now are looking at this with contempt, with disdain, and they're yearning for the fish that they had back in Egypt. And where did this problem in the camp all start? Verse 4. Now the rabble who were among them had greedy cravings. It started with the rabble. The rabble. Who's the rabble? The rabble were the people that got out of Egypt along with the Israelites when they were leaving. So this could be some Egyptians. It might be some other people who had come into bondage and in enslavement there in Egypt, but they were non-Israelites who got out of Dodge when the getting was good. They said, okay, you guys are leaving. I'm getting out of here too. The rabble shows up, and we don't know for sure that it's only non-Israelites. We don't know for sure that none of the rabble loved, served, and feared God, but we do know that this group called the rabble stirred things up, and not in a good way. It said the rabble had greedy cravings. Maybe yours said desired other food. If you look at the Greek here, the Hebrew, it says they desired a desire, or they lusted a lust. So here's this group of people called the rabble. Somebody say rabble. Here's the rabble, who likely are not God's people, or likely don't love and fear God like God's people do, or at the very least are known and identified by their sensual, greedy appetite. And they're stirring this up. And it's the people who don't know God that's stirring it up. I just wonder what kind of company you're keeping today. What kind of voice are you lending your ear to? What people around you who don't know the goodness of God, who don't know the history of the Lord that you know, who haven't walked in the faithfulness of the God who created you and loves you and gives you everything, who are you listening to who doesn't know that kind of love? Oh, girl, you need to do you. Just do you. You got your truth. Look, nothing should be holding you down like that. You just do your thing. You go do you. Girl, you know what my man did for me. If your man ain't doing this kind of thing, he ain't worth staying with. Or, bro, man, you've been trying to find a girl. You ain't getting no younger. I know you don't love her, but you should hitch up and just settle. Who you listening to? Who's in your ear that does not know the faithfulness of the God that you know? See, it starts with the rabble, but then it goes on from there. Verse 5, it says, now the rabble who were among them had greedy cravings, and the sons of Israel. So this is God's people. They also wept again. They're complaining again. The people have gotten around the rabble, and the rabble stir up in them stuff that was probably already there, and now they're weeping again. It's spread throughout the entire camp. And it's the sons of Israel who say, who will give us meat to eat? Who will give us meat to eat? I wonder where they thought it was going to come from. Who would be able to give us meat to eat here in the desert? We remember the fish, the leeks, the cucumbers, the melons. We used to eat that for free in Egypt. All of these things. How easy is it to remember the past when you're removed from it? To look at it with these rose-colored glasses, as my grandmother would say. How easy is it to remember with loving memories the past when you're just a little bit removed from it? They're saying these things. You know, it was great. Don't you remember it? The fish, the onions, the garlic. Oh, you want the chains too? Isn't it easy for us to look back on things that weren't so pleasant at the time, but now we're in this new dysfunction, and that don't look so bad anymore? I'm in a new kind of unhealthy, and now my past unhealthy starts to look better than it ever did when I was living in it. This new season's brought me these new vision, and sometimes that's good, but sometimes it enables us to look at things that were not pleasant, not good at all, and our mind is like it starts to play tricks on us. Like, do you remember when you walked away from that unhealthy relationship and you knew in the core of who you were that it was the right thing to do? Like, even though it was really hard, you walked away from it and you knew this is going to make my life better. Why are you looking at it different now? Why are you getting on their Instagram trying to see what they're up to? Why you look at the text that they send you from out of nowhere and being like, I wonder if it'd be different this time. Isn't it funny how when we're removed from the situation, we can remember it differently? You don't need that dysfunction. You don't need to go back to that. But leeks and onions and garlic, it was so great. Don't go romanticizing the past now that time has had a chance to actually heal some wounds. And the Lord has actually covered over some things that maybe were your fault. Don't go back looking like it's so great. I could tell y'all some crazy stories today of like my college years. I'm not going to. I could. And it would be even more crazy and more fun to tell you, like if my college buddies were here, because we all did the stuff together. And I could tell you things we did and we'd make it sound so good. We tell you about the fun we had. We tell you about all the trouble we got in. We tell you about some of the times we should have gotten in trouble, but we just barely got, by. But you know what we wouldn't tell you? All the headaches the morning after. That wouldn't be part of the story. We wouldn't tell you about all the emptiness that came along with it. We wouldn't tell you about all the brokenness that we were walking in, just trying to serve our own needs and just doing whatever we desired in the moment. We wouldn't leave all that in the story because that don't make for a good story. So we can look back like it was all good, but I'm just saying, when you start to think about all the pleasures that this world could offer, or you start looking back on your past like it was all amazing in the moment, don't forget all the pain that came with it. Don't put on these rose-colored glasses to be like, oh, that wasn't so bad. Just because time has passed doesn't change what you walked through. Doesn't change the hurt and the brokenness or whatever you were in. But God has brought them out of this situation, right? I don't want to dwell on the past. God has brought the Israelites out of bondage. But he's not only brought them out of something, because how many of you know God doesn't just bring you out of something, he's bringing you into something. He's bringing you into a land of milk and honey. It's something that they never had before as a people. They never had freedom and a long-term ability to just stay and be and experience God and to be his people, them to be his people, he to be their God. They're coming into something new. He's promised it. And now they can see on vivid display that he's providing. And yeah, he's always been providing because every good and perfect gift comes from above. But now it's so obvious. There's manna. There's bread from heaven, y'all. Manna is falling on the daily and in the desert nonetheless. In this transitionary season, God is providing their every need every single day. But the miracle got monotonous. Verse 6, but now our appetite is gone, they say. There's nothing at all to look at now except this manna. What has God blessed you with that you've started to despise? Where has God done a miracle for you in the past that now you look at it and just talk about it with contempt in your voice, or you take it for granted? I actually had a really long night last night going into Mother's Day. Chelsea and I were up literally half the night. I got about 3 hours sleep because my 3.5-year-old boy named August and my 5.5-year-old little girl named Damaris just weren't wanting to sleep. We did one of those things where they were sleeping all cute and laying on mom, and she didn't want to wake them up. But the bad thing is they started sleeping at like 7 p.m. All the parents in the room shaking their heads at me right now. It was a terrible night. It was bad. I was up at 3-something. I really didn't go back to sleep the rest of the night, and I was so mad. Like, we're trying to do this breakfast in bed thing for Chelsea this morning. We still pulled it off, but the whole first part of the morning, I'm just so mad at my kids, and they're crying and they're whining. It was like, parents, you experienced any of these nights before? Oh my gosh. And I had to check myself, though, because in the middle of looking at my 3.5-year-old boy, which I do love, don't hear me wrong, I'm just being real with you, I love him. But I'm looking at him, and I'm so upset and like, why won't you just go to sleep? Why do you keep coming up here and snuggling on your mom and not letting her sleep and talking to us? And it was easy to forget all about 4 years ago, before he was born, we weren't sure that we were ever going to get to hold him. There was a period there where Chelsea and I were freaked the crap out. And all we could do was pray and pray, because what can we do? And we're just praying, Lord, would you let this baby boy be born healthy? Lord, would you help him function correctly? Would you just let him be here? I don't care if anything's even messed up. We just want to love him. We just want to hold him. I remember those nights about 4 years ago. It's so easy to forget that blessing now, since it's right in front of me, and now sometimes maybe I got to do something to steward it. Maybe I got to do something to help it grow. That it's going to take something from me, even something God's given to me might take something from me. It's easy to forget because my miracle is now monotonous. But I'm here to remind you today that the God who gave you the miracle is the same God who sees you right now. I'm here to remind you that those kids are a blessing from the Lord. I'm here to remind you that this God who saw you and had favor on you is the same God who sees you right now in your time of need. He sees everything. He knows you. And even if you were one of those many that were not fortunate like Chelsea and I, and you've been on the other side of that miscarriage, or if you tried and you just couldn't get pregnant, I want you to know that God still sees you. And in this moment, He knows what you need. He's more than enough. The same God that sustained you through every other season is the same God who wants to sustain you today. But I need you to know that just because a miracle has gotten monotonous doesn't change the fact that it's a miracle. It's still so good. It's still something God gave you that you couldn't do for yourself. And it's so easy for us to look at these people in Numbers chapter 11 and kind of get mad at them, like think they're crazy. Like, what you complaining for? Like, you're in the middle of a desert. Do you realize that you would die without God's provision for you? This is literally bread from heaven. Probably tastes like a honey butter biscuit. How are you getting tired of it? Why are you acting this way? It's so easy for us to look at them like they're crazy, but this miracle had become mundane. And now, in this moment, they're sitting there thinking about how Egypt was better. How it was better back then. Why did God bring me here? It was better back there. At least back there we had food to eat. It was free. Fish and onions, leeks and garlic. Why would He bring us here to a desert? Are we going to die here? It'd be better for us to be back in Egypt. We want to act like we're so much better and they're so ridiculous. But how many times do we try to go back to Egypt? How many times? Well, it may be dysfunction, but at least I'm familiar with this dysfunction. Well, it may be unhealthy, but at least I'm familiar with this kind of unhealthy. And we just so easily revert back into something that God has already delivered us from. But Lord, what am I doing here? I thought this was going to be better. You tried to pull me out of something, right? You're bringing me into something better. I thought it was going to be different than this. Why am I in a desert? I feel like there's nothing around. Like, where are you? Where are you now? You pulled me out, but are you leaving me out here? And it's so easy for us to look back at Egypt. And hey, I'm in the desert right now, and I'm sorry, God, but right now Pharaoh's fish sound pretty dang good. And I feel like we just act like we're so much better sometimes, Christians. I'll just raise my hand. I can look at them and be like, what the crap? What are you thinking? How cool would it have been to live in a miracle like this? But when we put ourselves in their shoes, I don't feel so much different. I don't feel so much better. Like you say, I don't have anything I go back to. I ain't ever been owned. I don't go back to Pharaoh. How about you show me your phone and I'll find your Pharaoh? What you going back to when you start to forget about God's goodness in your life? What do you start to revert to when you take your eyes off of the one who actually is bringing you out of something horrible and into something that you couldn't do for yourself? What is it? Show me your phone. I'll find it. I'll find you, Pharaoh. We're not so much different. But we try to act like it, right? We want to go back to Pharaoh's fish. But you don't want to go back to those chains and masters. You don't want to go back to these illegitimate masters. You don't need that comfort food, as I'd call it. It may taste good, but it's going to leave you worse off. And maybe for you, maybe it's literally food. You wouldn't know it to look at me, but I've literally had to pray to God about like struggles with food because I really like food. Really like food. And maybe for you it's the same thing. Maybe that's what you go to when it feels like the weight of the world is coming down on you and everything's crashing down around you. Maybe you literally resort to comfort food. And you just think, hey, I know things suck right now, but if I can just dive into that, I'll feel better at least for a moment. and it's worth the pain that I know is on the other side. Maybe it's food for you. Maybe it's not comfort food, but maybe you got comfort friends. Anybody got comfort friends? Now I'm using the term friend lightly, loosely. I'm talking about the kind of friend who makes you feel good for 5 minutes, and then you feel worse afterwards. But you like to keep going to them because they make you feel good for a moment, make you feel, loved and worthy of some kind of affection for a moment, then right afterwards you walk out the door and the chains are still on you. I'm talking about that kind of friends. The friend who makes sure the chains are still on you. They don't point out anything you actually need to grow in. No, they don't address the source of the need. You're still in chains. And all the while you got this other friend or this person that you just met who would actually try to help you grow. They'd actually call you out when you're living down to the standards of the world instead of into who God's called you to be. But you don't go talk to them because you know that's not comfortable. Maybe for you it's comfort friends. I don't know. Comfort food, comfort friends. We want to act like these people in Numbers 11 are so crazy. But I really don't think they're that much different. They're in an uncomfortable place. They're remembering the past like it's all glorious. And they've received a miracle from God to sustain them, but that miracle has gotten monotonous. And while everything is monotonous on one hand, everything is changing on the other hand. Because now, God's people are actually tasting freedom. It's only been a year. Keep this in mind. It's been about 1 year since they've been set free from the bondage of Egypt. 1 year that they've been free of slavery, free of being beaten just for looking at somebody wrong, free of having to do everything that you're told. They actually have freedom now, and it's all new to them. There's been generation after generation that's been born into bondage. And some of you know what that's like because it's this generational thing that's going on in your life that you didn't have a choice in. You were born into, and that's what they found themselves in, and all of a sudden things are changing. Hey, this is freedom. This is great. But they're thinking, some of them, this is completely new. How do we even do this? How do we walk out this freedom that we have? I've never experienced this. I've always had somebody to tell me what to do. I've always had somebody to tell me where I lack and where I'm good at and how I need to grow. How do I handle this freedom? And it also helps to remember that the Israelites are moving constantly. Inside of a year, they've already moved at least half a dozen times. They come to a place, they set up camp, they set out again. They come to another place, they travel, they set up camp, they set out again. Everything is moving, it's transitory. They can't seem some place that they can actually put roots. It kind of sounds like Blueprint's first few years. So while on one hand, it's monotonous, on the other hand, everything's changing. Does this sound familiar? God, I'm so tired of this. I need something new. God, I'm so tired of this. I just need things to be the same. God, I'm so tired of all this monotony. I just need something to change it up. God, I'm so tired of all this instability. I just need something to be stable for a while. And it's all going on at once. So much has changed in this past year. Does this sound familiar to anybody else? Does this not sound like the year we just lived? I mean, so much has changed. Do I go outside or not? Is it okay? Can I talk to people? Does it have to be on the phone? Do we have to do this Zoom thing all the time? Is it okay to be in person? Do I wear a mask or do I not? Hey, when I see you, can I high five you now? Can I hug you? Can I fist bump you? Can I do elbows, even though I cough in my elbow and that might spread more disease? I shouldn't do an elbow. Is it okay? What's okay to do? Is it okay? Can I wave at you? Is this how the disease is spread too? Does it happen through everything? Everything's changed, right? Everything's crazy. Literally, I wear a mask into this place and it means I love and care for people. I wear a mask in this place and I'm a crazy communist. It makes no sense. There's so much that has changed. What's normal anymore? Oh, I want to go back to normal. I just want things back to normal. Really? You want to go back to when you were stressed out about everything? You want to go back to when you didn't prioritize time for people at all? You want to go back to Egypt? That's what you want to go back to? And it's, Pastor, not like that. Like, but I just want something to be the same. But yet, I kind of want some change too, because I look around and I don't like everything that's going on. I mean, every single day it feels the same now. Where are all those people I used to get to see? I can't go to the things I want to do. I can't go to the places I used to go to. They're not open. Some of my favorite places have shut down. I just need something to break up the monotony. I just need something to be new again. Every day for the past year has felt exactly the same. Well, the Israelites find themselves in the middle of this situation, where on one hand, it's the same. On the other hand, it's changing. And in this situation, they develop an appetite for something that destroys them. It's in this really unique place where everything feels like it's the same, yet everything is changing, that this craving comes that kills them. They want meat, so they cry out for meat. And it's not that they need the meat, but yet it's what they cry out for anyway. So what does God do? I find it interesting. He gives them meat. It says in verse 19, you shall eat meat. Not one day, not 2 days, nor 5 days, nor 10 days, nor 20 days, but for a whole month, until it comes out of your nose and makes you nauseated, because you have rejected the Lord who is among you and have wept before him, saying, why did we ever leave Egypt? God gives them their heart's desire. He gives them what their flesh longed for. He gives them what their stubborn, unyielding, independent nature wants. And he gives it to them for a month. And it's just interesting to me that he lets them experience how foolish these greedy cravings actually were. He lets them feel at length the food they chose for themselves over the food that he gave them already. He lets them feel it. And verse 33 says, while the meat was still between their teeth, before it was chewed, the anger of the Lord was kindled against the people, and the Lord struck the people with a very severe plague. So that place was named Kibroth Hattaavah, because there they buried the people who had been greedy. You know what that word means, Kibroth Hattaavah? It means graves of greediness, or graves of cravings. And I feel like every single one of us has a decision to make. Do you want to kill the greedy craving, or have the craving kill you? Do you want to submit ungodly, greedy cravings under the lordship of Jesus, or will you have that craving destroy you? Now, not all cravings are bad. I don't want you to hear me wrong. Just because you're craving something doesn't mean that it's wrong. God put desires in you. If you seek the Lord first, get the desires of your heart. Like desires aren't bad. There are God-given desires. I don't want you to hear me wrong. You want acceptance? Good. You want connection? Good. You want excitement? Good. But that Pornhub at 3 a.m. is not the place to find it. God has better plans for you. He has a better way to meet your needs. He has a better way to go about meeting these desires that He's put in you than going about it illegitimately. And it's not that we always want too much. Let me talk to the Christians in the room. It's not always that we want too much, Christians. It's that we settle on too little. Like, we are willing to settle for this fleeting high, and God seats us in heavenly places. He has something so much better for you than you can grow and try to do on your own. He has something so much better for you than you trying to meet your own need because you're not satisfied with His timing or how He's doing it or how it's tasting right now or, oh, I remember how it used to be, and you neglect to remember the very miracle that's still in your life right now. Oh, it's become monotonous, Lord. I need something new. No, He has a better way. We settle so often for what we could give ourselves. And if there's anything I know about me, I trust God way more than me. He's going to do it way better than I can do it. It's not that wanting these things is wrong. It's who are you looking to? Where are you going to meet those needs? Where do you turn to have your needs met? Are you looking to God? Are you willing to wait on the answer? Can you rejoice in the waiting? Because it's often this dissonance, this impatience that drives us to try to meet this need on our own, illegitimately. And we end up taking on another illegitimate master in our pursuit of actually meeting something legitimate in us. And it's not even that God's sending us back to Egypt. It's like we're going back on our own. Give me the chains. They feel good. Give me that craving. Let it be met. I know it's not good for me in the end, but right now it just sounds better than anything else. And then I find myself going back and back and further back into what the Lord's already delivered me from. Yet it's crazy because for the people of Egypt, here in chapter 11, it's not long before God actually shows them, reveals to them the promised land. It's not long. This is chapter 11 of Numbers. And in Numbers, He's already brought them out of bondage, right? He's already delivered them from the oppression of these people who would put them in bondage. And He's bringing them into something, a land flowing with milk and honey, a place they could set up camp, spread their feet out, a place they could grow and prosper. And by chapter 13, He's actually going to bring them in and show it to them. Show them grapes and pomegranates and figs. It's this land that they never known anything like it. He's just about to show them it's what they've been dreaming of. But you know, Pastor, it ain't chapter 13 yet. And right now, Pharaoh's fish are sounding really good. Are they really that good? Is that what you want, Pharaoh's fish? They're not as good as you remember. They're not that good. There's not a way you could cook them up that would make me want to go back to Pharaoh's fish. There's not a fish in the world that makes me want to forsake God's plan and His provision in my life. Pharaoh's fish ain't that good. You might remember it that way, but that ain't the solution. God has a better way to meet it. This is what we've got to decide. Are we willing to wait on God? Are we okay with His provision today until He comes again tomorrow and meets our provision for that day? Are we willing to be okay with God's provision in this moment, or will we sabotage our future by giving into this ungodly craving, this greediness, this lust that results in death? Do we want Pharaoh's fish? That's really the question. You want the fish or the fruit? What do you want? You want Pharaoh's fish, or you want the fruit of the promised land that God has for you? Yeah, you can have Pharaoh's fish. You can go back. It may meet your need, but it won't fill you. It won't keep you sustained. You want to choose which one of these. Do I want the chains of a fickle master, or do I want to be in submission to the master of heaven and earth? Because only right here on this hand is where there's joy in his presence. This is where there's peace in his presence. This is where there's perfect provision in my time of need. And it's only through him that my needs can be met in the way he designed them to be met. Where are you going to meet the need? I'm going to ask the worship team to come back up, and I just want to let that question linger for a minute. Where are you going to meet your needs? Because you can run back to Pharaoh, you can try to do it your own way, or you can wait upon the Lord. And let me tell you, my brothers and sisters, waiting upon the Lord is no wonderful, beautiful, glorious thing a lot of times in the flesh. It is not easy. But why am I going to go run begging to Pharaoh for something that my Father is so willing to give me for free? I want to wait on the Lord. I want to pray with you today. And I want to pray that we would be willing to lay down the chains and also be willing to lay down that willingness to go back to him, to wait upon God, to do it his way. It may not be your way. It may not be your timing. It may not be how you like it, but I'm telling you today that God's way is higher. His thoughts are higher. How he does things is higher. Think it not strange that you're enduring persecution, trial. Think it not strange that you're longing in your spirit for something better. God's put all that good stuff in you. But don't give in to the temptation to look at the miracle provision from God and let it just become another mundane thing in your life. And you start to make believe in your head that Egypt was better. No, Egypt has nothing for you. Pharaoh's fish will leave you empty. But the fruit of God is going to fill you for the rest of your life. Let's pray together today as we close. Father, in Jesus' name, Lord, I thank you that your word is as true then as it is now. I thank you that we can learn from the example of your people, from even ways they did things that wasn't wise or the best way. Lord, may we learn from others' mistakes and not have to repeat them ourselves. Would you give us a spirit of boldness to walk in who you've called us to be? Would you give us a spirit of humility to accept who you've called us to be, to lay down our independent, sinful nature that says we don't need you and we can do it better? Lord, would we be able to press in by your Holy Spirit to what you have for us? Would you give us a heart inclined to you? Give us a desire for your presence and for your word. And Lord, I just pray that you would continue to put great people around us, people who are imperfect like us, but people who love you and who desire you, who are going after you. Lord Jesus, we ask all of these things. We pray that you would meet us in our need today. We submit all these things to you in Jesus' name, with every head bowed, every eye still closed. If you're in this place or you're listening online later, if you've never made that first and most important decision to begin a life with Jesus, I'm talking to you right now. I want you to know that this God we're talking about, who has good plans for you, he already loves you, he already sees you, he already knows you, and he already loves you so much, he's given his only son, Jesus Christ, on a cross, and he died for your sins. All of us are sinful. All of us have messed up. Not a person on this earth is exempt from this. We have all done something that falls short of the glory of God, the perfect God who created you, created this universe. But the good news is Jesus Christ, the Son of God, lived a perfect life. He shed his blood and paid for your sin, my sin, the sin of all humanity for all mankind. And to have a relationship with the God who created you, it's as easy as this. You confess you're a sinner. You confess your need for a Savior. You say, I believe that Jesus is the Son of God. I turn from my old ways. I believe that he died on a cross for me, that he was buried and resurrected. And you can begin this life, the life that's better than anything you've dreamed of right now. There is a cost. it's going to be your entire life. Because Jesus wants to be your Lord and Savior, the master of your life. But let me tell you, it's better being submitted to Him on any day than on being my own God, on doing things my own way. If that's you right now and you want to receive Jesus, I'm just going to lead you in a prayer. You give the words meaning. You say something like this. You pray to God, and I believe if you do this with a sincere heart, that God's going to do a miracle in you right now. Let's go to God together. Let's say, Dear God, in Jesus' name, I pray to you. I ask you to forgive me for my sins. I've messed up, and I'm sorry. I don't want to live like that anymore. I want to follow you. Jesus, come be the Lord of my life. I don't really know what's next, but I trust you. I believe that you're the Son of God. I believe that you died for my sins on a cross, that you were buried, and that you were resurrected. Thank you so much for loving me, and thank you for letting me know you. Have my life and have your way in it. I submit to you. In Jesus' name, amen. Hey, if you just prayed that, me and everybody else here just want to celebrate with you for a moment. Can we give it up for anybody who prayed that for the first time today? Or you're coming back to Jesus right now in this moment. I want to encourage you, if you're here in this building, I would love to talk to you afterwards to just talk about some next steps, because this is just the first step on your walk with Jesus for the rest of your life. I want to talk about getting some good people around you and getting the Word of God in your hand and talking about some next steps. If you're online and listening, hit us up at info@blueprintchurch.tv, and we will connect you to churches in your area so you can have people physically around you, and not only your Blueprint family online, but physically there with you to walk this out.